It's the amazing Rico Brogna podcast with your host, Evan Roberts.
Yeah, that sucked. That was a freaking disaster. The only thing that sucks more is me attempting to get on Jerome Avenue and get out of this godforsaken dump. But the Subway Series game number one wasn't good. It was not good. I'll tell you what else wasn't good. The New York Knicks absolutely destroying the Boston Celtics. But I know that most people listening or watching either do not care or they're very happy. So if you're very happy, congratulations. The Knicks are a juggernaut. I am leaving Yankee Stadium. I have one positive on what was just mostly a shit-infested evening. And the positive was when I parked my car at about 11:30 a.m. On the corner of Jerome and Woody Crest, I think it is. I decided to make a bet. And that bet was I would not get a parking ticket. I did alternate side parking that expired at 1. I parked at like 11:45. And my thinking is if you give me a ticket, okay, fine. I'll have better access to leaving and I'll pay the fine as if I paid for parking. And if I don't get a ticket, okay, I got away with it. So for the 5th consecutive time in which I've gone to a Yankee game, I won the bet. I somehow did not get a parking ticket. And I open with that because the rest of everything I'm going to say today is going to suck. And it's going to be all negative and all blah and all boy, what a waste of time this was. For the voyeuristic New York Yankee fans, congratulations. You take game one of the Subway Series. There will be some Met fans, I'm not one of them, who would say, congratulations, you won your World Series. That was always a dumb comment. It was dumb when Yankee fans said it, and it would be equally as dumb, if not dumber, when Met fans say it. Here's what this comes down to tonight. The Mets had a rare game in which it was over early. Now, I know they put together that cute little ninth inning rally against De Los Santos to get Juan Soto to come to the plate, but all that really did was inflict the pain of watching Juan Soto make the final out against Luke Weaver. This was a mess, a collective mess. We can rip Tyler Megill. I will. I'll get there at some point. But let's start with the limp dick offense. Let's start with the fact that from the get-go against Carlos Rodon, who threw a million pitches and put plenty of guys on base, the evil trend has continued where they can't get a big hit. And this was spread out amongst almost everybody, including poor Pete. Pete Alonso had a rough outing today, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. But it was the collective kind of continuation of they'll get some traffic on the base paths and they can't drive them in. And they had opportunities against Carlos Rodon in this game. And the final calculation, if I'm not mistaken, Lindor's RBI double was the second hit they got with runners in scoring position. And I think they were a combined 2 for 11 or 2 for 12. They entered the 9th inning 1 for 9. So before we crap on Megill, which we will, can you score runs? Can you take advantage of the opportunities that Carlos Rodon gave you? Can you hit the New York Yankee bullpen? Jonathan Loaisiga pitching for the first time in forever. Mark Leiter Jr. Can you take advantage of a runner on second in less than 2 outs? And they didn't. Now let's get to Soto because that was the headline coming into this game. But as I said on the Fan, and I think I've said it here on the Rico, the Soto return story was about the Yankees and it wasn't about us. And I can tell you right now, leaving Yankee Stadium, doing this drive home, Rico Brogna, as I sit on Jerome Avenue, trying desperately to get on the freaking highway so I can go home. I never cared about Soto's return. And why would we? Like, we added him. We hope he gets hot. I'm excited that he's a Met. I'm not concerned that he hates the Mets. I'm not concerned he's regretting his decision. I'm happy he's here. And quite frankly, him returning to Yankee Stadium and whether he's getting booed or people are chanting F Juan Soto or what have you is not our problem. Now, we talk about it on the radio because it's a big story in New York, but in terms of the Mets, which is what the Rico focuses on, who cares? I mean, that was certainly my attitude. I didn't really care that much about it. And, Yankee fans and what they were going to chant at him or what he was going to do, because ultimately I want to win. So what I cared about was if Juan Soto was going to break out of what's been not a season slump, but the way I've described it is he hasn't been as impactful as we need him to be. Doesn't mean he hasn't been unimpactful at all. Has he made guys around him better? Absolutely. Does he have a very respectable OPS? Absolutely. But he hasn't made that impact. And so if this was going to be the series that started the impact, great. But the return thing was never big to me. As far as what the return turned into, Yankee fans booed the crap out of him. Yankee fans chanted F. Juan Soto. There was a little bit of tikiness in which people turned their back on him in right field. But ultimately, it was a very uneventful Soto return. Like, I guess some Yankee fans are going to enjoy the fact he made the final out. I mean, whatever. I mean, someone was inevitably going to make the final out when they went into the ninth inning down 6-1. And so he flies out to center field to end the game, not as the tying run at the plate, but with the tying run on deck, which made it a save situation. If that gives the Yankee fan the blood they wanted, okay, I guess. But obviously his first 3 at-bats were typical Soto. He drew walks. And that's the thing about Juan. And what I do love about him, because while he hasn't been impactful the way we envision, if your slumps or your struggles are going to be mixed in with games in which you get on base 3 times and you kind of pass the baton to your teammates, I'll sign for it. Like, I'm not mad at Juan Soto for walking 3 times. I'm mad that Pete Alonso didn't drive him in or Mark Vientos didn't drive him in. That's what it comes down to. But in terms of the Soto return, it was very uneventful because I think you're looking for that, oh, what's he going to do in his first at-bat? Is he going to hit a bomb? Is he going to strike out? What's he going to do? And he walked. And what did he do in his second at-bat? He walked. You know, and what did he do in his third at-bat? He walked. I thought he was going to complete the golden walk-brero, as I create a term. Happened, but it was for Juan Soto problem, not your problem. But that's the reality of what happened. I am currently trying to get on 87 North. Is that the New York Thruway? I forget what the term is. But I am trying to get on the highway right now, very responsibly. I'm not even looking at my phone. I'm looking directly at traffic. And by God, there's a lot of freaking traffic. And I'm not listening to the Knicks game because I know they were up by 107. And so unless they complete the greatest collapse in the history of really basketball, they're going to advance. I got to make a quick decision. Is there a side road, if I stay to the right, to skip this traffic, or is that going to cause me to have issues getting on the highway? You know what? Here's the thing. I don't know enough about driving around the Bronx. I come here 4 or 5 times a year, so I'm going to be very conservative. This guy's going to let me in. Oh, he's not. Okay, yes, he is. All right, I'm going to force my way in because I'm a New York driver, and I'm just going to sit in traffic on the highway. Now, let's get to Tyler Megill. Let's get to the elephant in the freaking room. Without over-exaggerating, or maybe it is an over-exaggeration, or maybe it's calling it like it is, are we not seeing the real Tyler Megill right now? Is it tough not to believe that everything we saw in April was a freaking aberration? That this is who he is? The guy who's going to throw 1 billion pitches in 4 innings, the guy who's going to walk the ballpark, the guy who's not going to be able to put hitters away, the guy who, this start was non-competitive. I mean, I'm sorry, it was. I didn't mind the walk to Aaron Judge with a runner on second, which I was definitely up for. Runner on second, 1 out. I think that was the 3rd inning, if memory serves correct. Scorecard not in front of me because I'm a responsible driver. I'm certainly not going to look at my scorecard as I drive. I want to make sure I still have my scorecard and it didn't go anywhere. Yes, it's on the floor. Great. But this was a non-competitive, nibbling, pathetic, typical Tyler Megill start. And with Paul Blackburn coming back, and with Sean Manaea throwing a bullpen, according to Carlos Mendoza, who joined us on Evident Tiki, go listen to that interview if you'd like. I'm sorry. Like, he ain't long for this world. Now, maybe in the next few weeks, we're going to see warning signs from some of the other arms like Griffin Canning or David Peterson or whomever, Clay Holmes, whatever. But we have now seen a few starts in a row in which the rose is coming off of Tyler Megill. I mean, this was a garbage performance. It really was. You get knocked out that in the 3rd inning because you're throwing 1 million pitches. And look, the Yankees score a lot of runs. Okay, so I do have respect for the Yankees. They're scoring about 5.8 runs per game, which they tick up a little bit with this game. Look how they scored their runs today. Like, they scored their runs because Megill basically put way too many guys on base, including the bases loaded walk to seal his fate. The error by Lindor didn't help, but that was an infield hit. That was bad luck. Look, there are going to be certain things in a game that are just bad luck. The Cody Bellinger infield hit was bad luck. It was weak contact. So it wasn't even the contact they were making off Megill. It was the control. That's what it was. It was throwing freaking strikes, which he was unable to do. I'm not ready to take him out of the rotation now, but as we sit here in the middle of May, he'll have one more start before Memorial Day weekend. I think the spotlight is on him. I think the spotlight is definitely on him. And it's not just a returning Sean Manaea or even Paul Blackburn, not that he's great shakes. It's the fact that you got to keep an eye on a guy like McLean, who's just been called up to AAA. And I know that David Stern sort of downplayed the fact that he could be up here soon, but he could be up here soon. Like, the Mets have some young arms. Obviously, Brandon Sproat and Blade Tidwell have not lit the world on fire yet. But I ain't going to live with that much more of Tyler Megill if he's going to give you this non-competitive garbage. Because, I'm sorry, you can't get knocked out in the third inning and walk 5 guys. Can't happen. And only one of the walks was the pitch around to Aaron Judge, which I thought they were getting way too cute on. I know that Mendy was effing around with me earlier today when we had him on, but I did make a joke to him. Hey, I've got some bougie seats. I'll be right behind the Met dugout. I will scream and give you signals when to walk Aaron Judge. And I know it was a joke, but I stood up when Judge came up with a runner on second and less than 2 outs. And I did the scream, Mendy, here is the warning, go walk him. And Megill fell behind 2-0. Through a 2-0 slider, he got the swing through, a 2-0 sweeper. I couldn't tell. And then eventually walked him. But you're playing with danger sometimes when you do even something like that. Because you hang on. By the way, all the traffic, because now my traffic is about to break, is to get on, I guess, to head towards the George Washington Bridge. So it's all those Jersey folk. And I'm sticking on 87 North up towards Albany, up towards where I live in Westchester. And it is, I'm looking to my right. It is a long line to get on that GW. And I know about the Jersey transit strike, which is a pain in the ass. That may have caused more people to drive. But here's what I say to the folks from New Jersey. I wave goodbye. I say, you have fun. You sit in that traffic. I'm going to move. This is my one victory along with the non-parking ticket tonight. I am now freshly on my way to walking inside to my house before 11 o'clock. I will tell you this. I'm not sure if Met fans will agree with me. So I'm sitting in Yankee Stadium. I'm wearing the Brandon Nimmo buttoned-up hoodie jersey. Pete Hoffman cannot speak on this podcast today, and he's probably very upset because he would like to curse me out for wearing a Brandon Nimmo hoodie jersey Met giveaway. But I wore that today. And the Yankee fans, like, I don't know how to say this because they were obviously showing a lot of vitriol towards Juan Soto. I didn't feel a lot of anti-Met, anti-Yankee stuff. It was almost like we were just sitting there side by side watching a baseball game. And usually when the Mets lose to the Yankees, which we haven't done a lot of recently. I mean, last year we swept their asses. I get a pit in my stomach when we're losing to the New York Yankees. As much as I say, the games aren't the end of the world. Games against the Phillies and games against the Braves matter more, which I stand by. I don't want to lose to the Yankees. I don't want to be around their obnoxious fans. I don't want to deal with it. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the fact that they all cared so much about the stupid Knicks game. But I didn't feel that kind of vitriol. I didn't kind of feel that hate. And as I was watching this game, and it really was a blowout despite the rally in the ninth inning, and one of the rare times where the Mets have essentially been blown out in a game, I can't put my finger on it. And maybe it is the Knicks. Maybe it was. I'll get a better idea on Sunday. I'm going back to Sunday night's game. I will not be there Saturday afternoon. Family day, if you will. So I'll see on Sunday how the Yankee fans act, but I don't know. It felt like it was all about Soto and I guess all about the Knick game that they weren't watching, more so than, ha, 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 we're kicking your ass. Ha, ha. Like even Morash, who I sat next to, who is an obnoxious Yankee fan, like he tried to be obnoxious. He tried to have some fun with it, but it didn't, I don't know, it didn't stick. Like I am in the car right now driving home more upset with the offense and the missed opportunities, more disgusted by Tyler Megill, more concerned about Tyler Megill than I am about this Mets-Yankees rivalry. So maybe I've matured. Maybe I've realized it's just any other series. But obviously this is a 2-game losing streak now. after losing that Wednesday night game to the Pittsburgh Pirates, in which they did nothing offense. And now this game. So if you go back and you look at the last 19 innings, the final inning of Game 2 against the Pirates, the 9 innings where they got shut out by the Pirates, and now the 9 innings of this game in which they tacked on the second meaningless run late, this is an offense that has scored 2 runs in 19 innings. So they got to wake up. And hopefully Clark Schmidt, who is starting for the Yankees on Saturday, will be the one to spark them. A couple of Mendy things I was confused by. He emptied the bench in the 9th inning of this game. That's when he went to Brett Beatty to pinch hit for Luis Angel Acuna. And he went to Jeff McNeil to pinch hit for Tyrone Taylor. But I go back a few innings earlier for Starling Marte. And I've been a supporter of Starling Marte, and I'm not ready to DFA him. I'm not there yet. But I am also I'm now at the point where he doesn't need to be guaranteed starts against left-handed pitching. And also, when a righty comes in, which happened after the 5th inning when Rodon came out, you've got lefty bats on your bench. You can go to Brett Beatty early in this game. You can go to Jeff McNeil early in this game. And I'd argue that you should, because when you go to these guys in the 9th inning, which is what Mendy did, isn't a little bit too much too little, or too little too late, as the phrase goes? So, again, I don't have my book in front of me, but Marte came up in a clutch spot against a right-handed pitcher once Rodon came out, and I did think now is the moment to go to your bench, whether it's McNeil or it's Beatty, and use one of your bullets. Not even that early in the game, because we're talking 6th, 7th inning. This isn't like the Ozokar situation from Wednesday where we're talking about pinch hitting in the 4th inning. So that was my issue with Mendoza. I can't kill him for the pitching stuff. I mean, Megill sucked. And you also don't want to rush to take your starter out in the 3rd inning of a game. You know, Max Kranick, I can't forget him while he comes in and got out of the bases loaded jam. What does he do the following inning? And that's a huge inning, by the way. So I'm glad I didn't end the Rico without taking some shots at Kranick, who's basically allowed a run in 7 of 8 appearances, 6 of 7, whatever it's up to right now. When the Mets score a run in the 4th against Rodon, and they work his pitch count up, and it's a 4-1 game going into the bottom of the 4th inning, what you need is a shutdown inning. What you need, if you're Max Kranick or anybody else, is to keep it right there. This game is not over. You clearly saw, based on the pitch count, that you were going to get to the bullpen. You were going to get Rodon out of the game. So I thought that was a very important inning. And obviously, Max Kranick came up small as he gives up the 2 runs in the bottom of the 4th inning. The defense continues to be kind of crappy, mostly Lindor, who made that terrible throw. Even Soto on the sacrifice fly. And yes, Yankee fans took quite a few shots at that, made a weak throw to the plate on a ball that was to medium depth right field. So all around, just a blowout performance against the Yankees. They'll try to get it straightened out tomorrow with Griffin Canning on the mound against Clark Schmidt, and then David Peterson against Max Fried on Sunday. The way Max Fried is throwing the baseball, I'll tell you right now, get Saturday's game. So far this season, the Mets have lost just a few series. They have not gotten swept, and we don't want that to start with a lost weekend in the Bronx. So please try to avoid that. Any other thoughts about the game? I'll tell you, the ice cream was very good. I did have some Mr. Softy chocolate ice cream in the 6th inning. That made me feel good. And what I didn't feel good about are these freaking Knicks fans. Like, I can't believe Sean actually converted me on this, but you're going so nuts when they show you the score. If you're that excited about the Knicks, why are you at the game? I'm sorry. Go sell them. And don't tell I bought the tickets a while ago. Sell the freaking tickets. You know, and the thing that I was also surprised by, and I didn't see it because I didn't want to leave my seat, but Sean got the ice cream. Thank you, Sean. He goes back to the bar area, up the 3rd baseline where the Mr. Softy is, and the bar had the Knick game on, and it was filled with people. So I go back to my question, why are you at the Mets-Yankee game if you're just going to be at a bar watching the Knicks game? Now, before anybody gets angry at me and sends me an email, I know I'm being a bitter fan. That's all this is right now. Just bear with me. I'm an angry, jealous Nets fan. That's what I am. So everything I'm saying about the Knicks stuff, just take it. You understand. You understand, because as a sports fan, we all go through it. Either way, Saturday when the Mets play, it'll be a 1 o'clock game. I mentioned I'll be with my family. So we will have a reaction to that game. It just may happen a little bit later. So that's why you should subscribe to the Rico Brogna or subscribe to that WFAN YouTube channel. And we will provide you an update when there is a reaction to game 2 of this 3-game series between the New York Mets and the New York Yankees. Any other thoughts? Of course, you can email us, thericob@gmail.com, thericob@gmail.com. It's a loss. It's to the Yankees. It sucked. And let's hope this weekend doesn't get worse. Thank you very much for listening to a drive home edition of Rico Brogna.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Rico Brogna podcast. It's amazing, isn't it? Make sure you download it now to keep it on you at all times.